Spencer. How are you?
How about you?
Good, thank you very much. All right, so guys, you can all turn your speakers off for a bit. I'm going to get started here shortly. There will be times where I ask a question, maybe open-ended or to a specific person. Again, mainly I'll be talking to the grade 10, 11, 12s for feedback, and then the grade 6, 7, 8, and 9s, you're more here to listen and observe for the first couple weeks. I'm going to share my screen with you guys quickly so you can see the presentation. Share screen. And then if you guys could just give me a thumbs up when you can see my screen, that would be great. One sec here. Okay. There we go. Okay, thumbs up if you can see my screen right now. Okay, great. Let me start this presentation. Okay, so before I get into the leadership stuff for today, guys, we're just gonna start by saying, Happy New Year. And I haven't seen some of you since Christmas, so I hope you all had a good holiday as well. Just really quickly, we're gonna go over just the expectations of the group. And guys, I might have to stop a couple times because there will be some late stragglers trying to get into the Zoom meeting. So just bear with me, guys. I think we're okay for now. Yeah, we're good. Okay, so expectations of the group. You guys have all spent enough time with me to know that I take this stuff pretty seriously. And all I really ask from you guys is that you listen, you take this seriously, and we're not wasting anybody's time. Just really simple. And again, I'm kind of preaching to the choir because you guys know how I operate. Please, please, please don't text me an hour before the meeting to tell me that you can't come, right? I think we all can agree you at least knew about this for a couple weeks. I emailed your parents a while ago. And it still seems to be happening, and it's not from the younger kids, it's from captains and leaders of the teams we're working for. So we really got to work together to just hold each other accountable for that. We're going to meet once a month, guys, for 30 to 45 minutes. And once we get comfortable with the setup, I'm sure it will be a little bit more streamlined, but today will be about 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more. And at the end of each lecture, you're going to have homework, but it's not going to be the type of homework you guys are accustomed to. It's going to be 10 or 15 or 20 minutes of introspection, and you guys can take that as seriously as you want. If you want to spend an hour on these presentations, that's fine. If you're only have 15, 20 minutes, so be it, okay? But this is kind of what leadership's about. I'm also trying to assess who of you are not going to be leaders in high school, but who are you going to continue to be leaders throughout your life. And I'm going to be able to evaluate that through the work you submit and just through the conversations we're going to have through these lectures, okay? So with that being said, next slide, what is the For Life Fitness Leadership Academy? So the For Life Leadership Academy, guys, obviously it was created in partnership with For Life Fitness, and it's designed to identify and nurture those who exhibit early signs of leadership, vision, and selflessness. So if you're on this Zoom call, I either think you're already in a position of great leadership or you have the potential to be a leader moving forward. And this isn't only talking about sports leadership, guys. We're talking about leading on the field, off the field, in the classroom, in the workplace, and in your life, okay? So really quickly, everybody can go open the chat, whatever you want to call it, tab. I'll do the same so I can see you guys. And what we're going to do, I'm just going to be a little bit behind you guys probably. So what you're going to do once you are in the chat window, guys, is I want just either a one sentence phrase or just even one or two words about what you think leadership is right now. Not necessarily what you think leadership is, the definition of it, but what do you think is leadership? So just start in the chat, guys. And as they start popping up, what I'm going to do with this feedback from you guys is build a group definition of what we think leadership is today. And then we're going to constantly be checking in with our definition to make sure we're growing as a group. So picking up teammates, setting a good example twice, helping others, helping, taking charge. Yep, these are great, guys. Keep going. Leadership is guidance. Okay, yep, can be. Good one. Setting examples for others. Okay. Helping your team, making connections with peers to motivate them. That's a really good one. Holding teammates accountable, another really good one. Okay, you guys can keep filling those out as I just continue here with the presentation. Okay, so leadership. First thing we're going to talk about, and this is where I'm going to ask that maybe some of the older athletes unmute their screens, just because I'm going to be asking for some of you your opinions and just for you to speak as well. Because another thing you guys know about me is I'm not going to give you all the answers. We're going to work for them, okay? So I'm going to have, Evan, Colin, Emily, some of the older athletes, please make sure your screen is unmuted because I'm going to be talking directly to you for the first little bit here. Really simple, leading by example. That's a leadership style that all of us have seen and we kind of understand. Do we agree there? Can I get some thumbs up just because I can't hear you? Yeah, no, it's okay. So we'll all agree there. Emily or Evan accordingly, we'll have both of you maybe tag team this. I want to see if you guys can figure out without me telling you, what could an example or an issue be with this type of leadership? So think about someone that might not be vocal, but does all the necessary work to be a leader, okay? What type of issues or team problems may that present? Why don't we have Emily start?
Well, if you're like a leader, but you're not vocal about it, you can't express your ideas and communicate as well with your teammates to show that you can lead.
That's fair. Evan, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I find like just by example doesn't always get through to people. Some people are like, I don't know how to say it. They just react better to like being talked to. I guess it connects better with them.
Okay, so I'm going to pose a question to you two then. So let's say you guys are both team captains, which you both have been, and let's say both of you actually are quite vocal, but let's just pretend for a moment here you're not. And you're a leader by example, okay? Think about Brody, guys. You guys know Fairburn? He's not a talker, but he is a very good leader, right? But let's say here's the scenario I'm going to pose to you. You're the captain of your team. You don't lead vocally. You're more of a physical person. You do the work with your head down, your mouth shut, but your team isn't responding to that, okay? So now there's this divide between the team. You're kind of in no man's land. What is something you could do in that scenario, Colin Devaney or Nate Boma?
I would, if you're, some people are afraid to talk to a large group of people. So maybe what I would do is I'd take people aside individually, or I'd go to a coach and, try and figure out some ways to kind of keep the team together and keep you all as one.
Very good answer, Colin. That's why you're in this group. And Nate, do you have anything to add to that? So what could be maybe a concern or a strategy if you're a leader, but your team might not be following you?
Well, yeah, like what to add to Colin said, I think also if we had like co-captains too, someone that the captain trusts who can, be, I guess, a representation for him to really speak out to the players. Yeah, like it would really have to be like a close relationship with like certain people around that captain to really express to the players and to really reach out to them. I think like having co-captains and stuff like that would help a lot in that situation, because how I see it, if this, good leader is really introvert or something like that, he really has probably certain people that are close to him that, might be extrovert or might be able to, express how he feels and stuff like that. Or also like, talk to the coaches too, to really figure something out.
Yep, makes sense. So everyone who spoke so far, your points are spot on, right on the money. This question was more just to get you thinking that there's different types of leadership and they might not always work from team to team and individual to individual. The next point we're going to talk about today is emotional intelligence. And this one's, it's honestly tricky. I'm 26 years old. I'm almost 27 in May. And this is something that I'm still working on every single day of my life. So to bring it up to you guys at this age, I think is going to be really beneficial towards you guys developing and maturing as athletes and people. So emotional intelligence, understanding emotions' role in a reactionary world. So basically, guys, what this means and why we're going to talk about it is that we've all probably been around a teammate that might be a little bit of a hothead, or maybe they're more prone to being triggered and throwing like a tantrum. You know, some of you have maybe dealt with this, some of you maybe haven't. So if you've dealt with a difficult teammate, the first thing you got to understand as you guys get older is your first reaction shouldn't be necessarily to be like, what's his problem? Like, what is that guy's issue? What's going on? As you guys develop as leaders, you should be thinking, okay, what is causing this reaction from this person? Because I don't see where it's coming from. So maybe there's something that I'm not understanding. I'm going to go talk to him one-on-one and see if he's okay. Or I'm going to go tell the coach, is something going on with so-and-so, you know? He just seemed a little off last couple of weeks. So you guys can have a huge role in your teammates' development without even knowing it. So just something to think. And then the other part of this is if you're somebody who, you know, overreacts, or you miss a pass, or you drop a ball, or you miss the net playing hockey, or you're Emily at the free throw line and you airball, something like that, right? Your first response might be reactionary, but it's kind of next play mentality. Everybody good with that? This makes sense so far? Thumbs up? Cool. And just again, by just a thumbs up, who knows what 10-80-10 means? Thumbs up, thumbs down if you don't, just to see how much time we're going to spend on this. Okay, so a lot of thumbs down. That's okay. It's a good thing. So 10-80-10 is a concept I think you'll all hear about as you get older, but now it's a concept that people use in sports and they use in business a lot. So sports business related. So you have 10%ers on a sports team. Football is the usual model for this because you have a team of about 90 guys, but just for this, let's use Devaney. So let's use baseball as our example. Okay, Colin, how many baseball players on a team roughly?
I would say 13 to 15.
Okay, so let's say there's 15 players on a ball team. Okay, guys? 15 players. So 10% of those, so somebody get out a calculator for me and figure out what 10% of 15 is roughly. We'll do two examples. Let's do 10% of 15 and then 10% of 90, because we'll do basketball/baseball and then football. Let's do that. Sam could probably do it in his head with his eyes closed, but
1.5.
So yeah, obviously, yeah, 1.5 people. So that would obviously, you can't really have half a person, so let's say 2. And then whoever does 90, let me know. 10% of 90. It's not rocket science, guys. Come on.
9.
Yes, Sam. Yes, it is 9. Good job. All right. So what this means, guys, is on a team, a business, a team, whatever, okay, a group of people, 10% of them are going to they go above and beyond. So not only are they on time, putting in more effort, last one in the gym, sleeping, training properly, supplementing, good grades, good friend group, okay? They got all these things going for them. They're doing everything they're expected, and they're going above and beyond. So they're a captain, they're maybe in the leadership academy, this sort of stuff. And then 80% of the team, 80% of the people in your life are kind of just going to be, they're kind of in the middle. They do everything that's expected of them, but maybe they don't go above and beyond. Maybe they go to practice, they go home, but they don't go to the weight room and study. So they're that's the bulk of people you're going to meet, whether you're playing sports or life, 80%, okay? And then the last 10% are the people who maybe they're not respecting the boss or the coach. They're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. Their goals and their mission in life, they don't line up with the team's goals. So basically what you do is you get rid of that bottom 10%, okay? Or you try to get the guys in the 80% to each pull one athlete from the bottom percent forward. And if the guys in the 10%, the positive 10% of the group, can pull one person forward from the 80%, pretty soon you're going to go from having 2 players on a basketball team or 9 players on a football team being 10%ers to 4 people on a basketball team being a 10%er, and then maybe like 15 or 20 on a football team. Does this make sense to you guys? And do you also understand how you can start applying this to your life immediately? Just thumbs up. Okay, good. We're going to move on here. Okay, so how many languages do you need to know to communicate with the rest of your team? And I don't mean French, English, Spanish. When I'm saying language, I'm more kind of talking about kind of back to what I was mentioning a few slides ago, that everyone is going to react a little different to an outcome, let's say. So if, for example, I responded to coaching really well when I was your guys' age. Coaches that yelled and got up in my face and were on me, I knew that guy cared and they were passionate, right? So I really responded to that. Some of my teammates couldn't handle that. It was, why is he yelling at me? Why is he yelling at me? They're not yelling at you. They're yelling because they care, okay? So although you guys are teammates, so you shouldn't be necessarily doing the yelling, you do need to find, if you're going to be a leader and if you're going to be a captain and you're going to have influence and power on a sports team or in life, how to communicate with different types of people, right, guys? So just a little tip on the bottom right-hand side. We all grow up with our own experiences that lead us to experience different realities. Okay, so some of the younger kids, that might not make a lot of sense, but for the high school students, that should resonate and that should be something that you think about. And then as leaders, how can we communicate more effectively? So maybe Quinn and Connor, why don't you guys take this question? As leaders, young men and women leaders, how can we communicate more effectively with people who might respond to things differently?
Some people, they take criticism differently in the sense that yelling doesn't like speak to them, as if someone pulled them aside, talked to them quietly, or asked what was going on. So you could learn to talk to different people differently so they handle it better.
Yep. Connor, do you have anything to add?
I just think that it's good to know your teammates and know how they respond to different methods. And if you have a coach that yells and you know that maybe a couple of your teammates don't respond to that very well, you can talk to them and just explain what they're trying to say after they settle down.
That's a very good point. Does anybody have anything to add there, or we can move forward? Good. Okay, so leadership doesn't always look the same way. Obviously, that's what we've been discussing this whole meeting. So obviously the infographic just showing different paths to success. There's more than one road that leads to Rome, guys. So the point of this slide is to just let you know that some of you will lead by example. Some of you will lead vocally. Some of you will, there's a couple different types of leadership we're going to go into in a moment here. But the picture in the infographic kind of says 1,000 words there. Multiple styles can be successful. And how can we discover what type of leader we are? So throughout these lectures, you guys are going to start probably getting a little bit more introspective as you try to learn about this stuff. So when you're trying to discover what type of leader you are, which you all should be trying to figure out on your own time, do some Googling, look at the different types of leadership. And then maybe next month when we come back, you can tell me what type of leader that you think you are, or we can just check in with each other. Okay, so the types of leaders, examples of leadership. I'm going to ask everyone to unmute their speakers for a moment, because I'm going to throw these questions to whoever I feel like, whoever I see on the screen first. So, who are some leaders that we admire? So I just kind of want to get a glimpse of who you guys are viewing as role models and leaders before we go any further today. So Cole Shepherdson, and then we'll go Bodie. Give me a type of person that you might look up to. Who's a leader that you admire?
Well, I play hockey, so I kind of look up to people that play in the NHL and stuff like that, just try and follow their footsteps, look into their background a little more, see what they do to accomplish their goals.
So you look up to NHL hockey players. That's great. Can you tell me why you look up to them, other than the fact that they're like, what are they doing off the ice, or what are they doing that you admire, other than the fact that they're a professional athlete?
Yeah. So yeah, I like. There's obviously some players that don't set the greatest examples, so I try and pick out the ones that do and like see what they're doing off the ice and try and learn from them and stuff like that.
That's a good answer. And Bodie, what about you, bud?
Well, personally, being a baseball player, I usually look up to MLB players. Considering I'm a catcher, usually I look up to catchers. And it's really easy to see which catchers are great and which catchers are good because they're in every play and they run the game. And you can see which ones are better leaders and which ones aren't the best leaders. And that's usually it. If I had to say the person that I look up the most is Yadier Molina. He's a catcher for the St. Louis Cardinals. He had the most throwouts, probably 4 years in a row, I think, multiple Gold Glove winners. And you can tell that he separates himself from the good, and he puts in extra work, and he does all of that stuff. And that's why I think that he's an awesome role model, personally.
Okay. Evan Cordingly, who's somebody that you look up to? Why do you admire this person in leadership style?
Thank you. I don't know if I have one off the top of my head.
Well, take your time. Let's just talk about this then. So I'll give you a break, Evan. So guys, you all gave me pretty good answers, all right? But now what I want you to do over the next couple of weeks is find somebody, okay? So you want to pick a catcher, you want to pick a hockey player, Cole, that's fine. But you need to tell me why you admire this person. And the answer can't be because they're in the NHL and work hard. It needs to be a little bit more intricate than that, okay? So that's not mandatory homework. That's just if you want to figure out a little bit more, are you looking up to the right people or are you not, okay? Because it doesn't just have to be an athlete. So one of the things that I want to talk to you guys about before we get to the last part of this slide about what can we learn from the person we're looking up to is I think it's really important to be well-rounded. So if I asked everyone, you probably would say today, I look up to NFL players, MLB players, WNBA players, this kind of stuff, right? But so for me, when I was your guys' age, I was really into math and science. So I was also looking up to, Albert Einstein and Carl Sagan and these people who, they weren't playing sports, but what I really appreciate about them is they were pushing civilization forward. And a lot of their claims at the time, they weren't generally accepted by the masses, but they didn't care. They said, well, I have proof. I can show you mathematically why this is true, and this is what it's going to do for civilization and making the world a better place. Okay, so you guys should all kind of maybe find an athlete you look up to, and then find somebody in a different field that you look up to, and then you'll start to see, oh, there's similarities between these people. It's not necessarily about the sport they're playing. And then I'll just take this last slide because you guys have been doing great. So what can we learn from different leadership? So can we critique leaders and search for a better type of leadership? So this is a question that I've honestly been asking myself for a long time, because when I was your guys' age, I was really looking up to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Yes, I was a football player, but what I really liked about those two athletes was their mindset. They just had a different level, a different kick of, I want to be successful. I'm going to work hard, not make excuses ever. But if you ask them now, obviously, unfortunately, Kobe has passed away, RIP, but they would probably tell you there's things they would change and there's relationships that they would want to fix. For example, Kobe and Shaq, they did not get along when they were playing. And it wasn't until 10 years after maybe 5 years after Kobe retired, that they sat down and they hashed it out because they weren't leading well, right? I'm sure you guys have all seen that dynamic. And I'm sure you've been on a team where the captain might be the best player and the hardest worker, but he might not be a good leader. So it's important to kind of look at your captains and your leadership style to see what's working and what people like, and then also kind of be aware what might not be working as well, right? Make sense, guys? Thumbs up, thumbs down? Okay, I'm gonna move on here. Okay, this is just a little tidbit. Self-reflection and awareness. Again, this is for our older athletes. Just read the screen, guys. It is crucial to look at your own weaknesses as an athlete and a person. Those who cannot find weaknesses or become self-aware cannot be leaders. This is a required prerequisite, no ifs, ands, or buts. So before you lead others, you must lead yourself. And before you do that, you have to do some introspection and figure out who you are and what type of leader you're going to be. So why don't we all take a 1-minute break, open up the chat window. If you have to go to the washroom or get a sip of water, it'd be a good time to do that now. And start, just put in what you think some of your weaknesses might be, okay? Because this is something I want you guys to start thinking about as well. Just a minute. I overthink things. That's very common, Jacob B. Thank you for saying that. I do that too. So maybe you need to put a practice in, Mr. Beatty, about when you're feeling that you're overthinking something, do some deep breathing or go for a walk, or write down what you're overthinking, and then you'll realize maybe it's not such a big deal, or it's something that you could attack. That's a really good one, Jacob, sorry. Too hard on myself. Yep. A lot of us can be too hard on ourselves, and this kind of comes back to the overthinking. I think one of the things I did as an athlete when I was probably in grade 12 is kind of when I realized that I was being too hard on myself. But there's a gray area where you want to hold yourself to a higher standard, but you don't want to be self-deprecating. Getting in my own head. So it's very similar. Emily, being too nice. You got to get those elbows up when you're rebounding, Emily. You are too nice. Yeah, sometimes people make simple things more complicated. Again, this is all coming back to overthinking, guys. This is really good feedback. Too competitive. Again, that's one that we all need to fine tune and find a healthy balance. I'm not vocal. I get down on myself. Okay, guys, these are great. I'm going to go over them after the presentation in more detail, but you guys can keep filling them out for now as I move on. Okay. Okay, so taking leadership into practice. So these meetings are all well and good, but if I don't give you guys strategies on how to implement this in the next 48 hours, because that's usually the rule. If you don't implement something in 48 hours, you probably never will. So I want to give you guys some examples of how you can implement this now. But again, I'll have my older athletes, grade 10 and above, unmute your speaker because this is going to be a little back and forth here. Okay, so leadership into practice. We were briefly talking earlier about perspective practice, and that might not be what it's called. That's just what I wrote down. So when I'm referring to perspective practice, guys, it's for example, it's taking somebody else's perspective when it might not be simple to. I'll just try to give you an example. Again, so one of your teammates has a blow up at practice, right? You don't know why, and you start judging him. Just human instinct. I'm going to judge that person. And then I'm going to go skate over to my buddy, and we're going to point at him, and we're both going to say, oh, what's going on over there? Now, does that seem like leadership? Okay, good. A lot of head shaking. No, that's not leadership. What leadership would be is if you're a captain or have a good relationship with a coach, maybe you go ask the coach, hey, is everything okay with so-and-so? Or, Bodie seems to be having a bad day. Is everything okay? Because guys, there is stuff happening at school, at home, in friend groups that you don't know about, okay? So I think the biggest piece of advice I can give you this for first lecture is try not to respond to things with your emotion, but try to think, why did I respond that way, and work backwards. Or if you see somebody maybe who's responding in an inappropriate manner, as a young athlete, you can talk to your coaches about it. Or you can talk to your teammates in a positive manner. Should we maybe it's as simple as we've been in lockdown for a year, and some people don't have the social outlet to go hang out with their neighbor, right? There's so much we're in very interesting, confusing times right now, guys. So I think a really good skill for you guys is all going to be practice taking your other people's perspective, okay? And then it's simple. Whether you're a coach, a captain or not, just schedule a meeting with your coach. Maybe right after tryouts, or touch base once during the year, and then have exit meetings with them. Say, what do you expect from me? Do you view me as a leader on this team? Yes or no? Because sometimes you might not be a captain, but you'll still have influence on the team. And I think you all kind of know there's even some athletes that work with our group who they're not necessarily showing the best leadership characteristics, but they have a lot of influence on the group. Right, guys? So I guess I'll start with, who haven't I called out yet? Ian Baird. I know you're grade 7, but you're up. What is one of the best examples of leadership that you've seen? And we're going to talk about it as a group.
Probably one of the best that I've seen is.
Can you speak up a bit, Ian?
Okay, yeah. Probably one of the best leadership things that I've seen is if someone is having trouble, is if someone that is not really the captain comes and helps them instead of the captain.
That's a good example of leadership for sure. Evan Cordingley, do you have anything to add? Whether you've seen something on a football field or something on the TV or something you've done yourself, what is an example of leadership that you kind of set above all others?
Yeah, first year high school football, I noticed all the seniors and the grade 11s, they all had really good connections with the younger guys already. They can talk to us and everything. So first day of practice, everything went smooth. Everyone's listening to them. Everyone rallied behind them. And that just made for a really good environment.
That's awesome. Do you want to elaborate, or is that it? Because that's a really good point, Evan.
That was my first year of high school football. So that's I started modeling after them almost. So just take after them. Those guys Chase DeVries and stuff, Robbie and 100%. All that. You just look up to them when you're a younger guy and take after them.
So yeah, we're going to talk about that for a second because Evan gave a really good example of that's called pace setting leadership, or follow the leader concept. So basically, if you have a football team and you got a grade 11, 12 team, a senior team, and then a grade 9, 10, a junior varsity team, and if those grade 11s and 12s are being a positive influence on the grade 9s and 10s, well then your program is going uphill. But sometimes if there's a grade 9 or 10 that has a lot of talent and is getting a lot of attention, the grade 11 and 12, they might be hard on that kid. So it's always contextual, but I think the point Evan was trying to make was that as a leader, it's very important to, again, what I'm doing and then what the older kids are going to be doing to the younger kids, is paying it forward. Guys, the whole point of this leadership academy is that we have grade 11s, grade 10s, grade 9s, grade 8s, grade 7s, and grade 6s. So the grade 6s, 7s, and 8s who are listening to Evan and Colin and Emily and all the other athletes who have spoken so far today, you're teaching that group how to then pay it forward to the next group once you guys all off to go to college and university to play sports or whatever. So you guys are already doing it. You guys are already turning leadership into practice. Good job. Okay, so this is my spiel. This is where the homework comes in. So if you have a pen and paper or note on your cell phone, now's the time to listen attentively. So again, I'm a weird guy. I like math and calculus and science and learning. So this is my spiel for you guys. Life is a math problem, all right? Just want you guys to think about it for a second. Life can be a math problem. First thing we're gonna do when we look at our life's math problem is we wanna figure out what we need to do more of, what we need to do less of, and what is our goal? What is our version of success? So I'm gonna give you guys some examples for myself, and then we might even have a little open forum just so I know you guys know what's expected of you. So today is January 10th, and you have 2 weeks to submit this to me via email. You can have your parents help you with the email part. If there's any issues, just give me a text or an email. We'll figure it out. But this is my example for when I was in high school, when I was in university, and now as an adult. So for example, when I was in high school, what I viewed success as was getting into university for engineering, playing university football. That was pretty much where my head was at. So it's probably pretty similar to where some of you guys are at right now. So in high school, I'm just going to read off the chart for you guys. I needed to prioritize my grades, right? And that entails a lot more than just prioritize grades. That's studying and asking for help and tutoring and study groups with friends. There's a lot that comes with that one point. I needed to subtract or get rid of friends that put me down or friends that were having a negative influence on me. Because something you're all going to experience as leaders is as you start to have life success growing up and it's just so many opportunities for you guys. You're going to see friends that don't support you and friends that behind your back are saying, who cares what he's doing? He's working out on Friday. He doesn't want to drink with us. And those are the friends you got to get rid of, right? If your friends are pulling you down and being negative, you got to get rid of them because they're not going to be your friends when they're my age. that's the relationship you have with them. You need to addition. So you need to add friends who are on the same path as you and that have the same goals as you and who are working as hard as you and have the same priorities as you. Again, this is me in high school, guys. And then you want to subtract time-wasting activities. So in high school, just general procrastination, Netflix, sitting on the couch and doing nothing. Guys, I know what it's like to be your age. I know how you guys are probably spending some of your time. And then add or addition, like investing in yourself, whether it's studying or weight room or learning how to cook or looking into universities. These are the types of things that you need to be thinking about at your guys' age. But you have to figure out what your goal is or what success means to you guys on the right side of the equation before you can start filling in the stuff on the left side of the equation. As I stepped into university, I had accomplished getting into university and playing football. So then my priorities again changed to, graduating university, potentially playing in the CFL, and working on my business. Those were the real three things that I was doing in university. As opposed to partying and wasting time, I really was spending time on those three things. So it looked like I had my classes in university, I had football practice, I had film for football, I had homework and my own private film review to do more, again, because I was a 10%er in college my last couple of years. I had some part-time jobs, etc. That was my version of success in college. Now, as a young adult, my goals are to buy a house, to get engaged, these sorts of things, okay? So now it's career, family, and exercise for my health is kind of what is going to lead me to a successful life. And again, this is me, guys. Okay. So I'm going to ask both Emily and Sam Dickdan to give examples of their versions of success for now.
So my overall goal is obviously to get a D1 scholarship in the States.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm working towards. Like, do you want me to list the things like you did too, or?
Yeah. So what are your goals on the right side, and then what are the things you're doing right now, and some of the things that you might need to tweak?
Well, currently right now I'm working out a lot and putting in the extra work, so that's something that I'm doing to get there. Few things I need to start doing is definitely not worrying about others think, because I tend to do that, especially with even teammates, like, oh, are they mad at me today? Are they going to be mad at me in practice? Like, kind of just little stuff like that, just not worrying about other people and playing my game. So that's definitely something I need to worry about. And also probably cooking, now that I live in a team house alone and we have to cook our own food. I don't really know how to cook that much, so I tend to eat out a lot because we're right on lock, so I can just go to a restaurant and get food. So that's another thing. Like, nutrition is definitely something that's going to play a role in my end goal.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Very good. Sam, what about you? You're grade 8 right now, right, Sam, or grade 9?
Grade 9.
You just started grade 9, so you're just a freshman. What is your goal right now? What does success look like to you, and then what do we need to do to get there?
Like, I definitely want to get some sort of scholarship, and I want to become a leader, and I feel like I need to get there by becoming more open with other people. Like, I feel like I'm a really quiet person, and I think that I need to put in some more effort sometimes.
Mm-hmm. For sure. That's a good start. Again, you guys are going to have 2 weeks to kind of sit down and do this in pairs or on your own. So my next slide is just kind of going to break it down a little bit more for you guys. Okay, so finding your success equation. This is something that you guys can do now, and you can constantly update it as much as you want for the rest of your life, all right? So the first thing, the blue box. What is your goal / version of success and why? So the very first thing you guys should be doing for this assignment is write down what is your end goal / version of success, but the biggest answer is why, okay? It's not just good enough, guys, to tell me that you want to go pro. Everybody in this meeting wants to go pro, but I'm sorry, we all won't. I, in my opinion, did everything I could to go pro, and I didn't, right? So if I think we have 16 or 17 people in this Zoom call, if 1 or 2 of you go pro, that is incredible, because that's like a 7% ratio. Usually it's less than 1, right? So I think this is a good thing because it puts you guys in a group of like athletes that are all on the same mission. But just realistically thinking, it's not going to work out for all of us. So you need to tell me why you want to go pro, because if you can't, you're probably just saying the words you think that I want to hear. You need to be able to explain your answer to me. And for that matter, for your next coach, for the person in the job interviews when you graduate school, like this is stuff that's really going to pay itself forward for you guys if you take the time to focus on it now. The second part of your homework is simple. This is the easy part. What do I need to add to my equation to reach my goals? If you don't study enough, study more. If you don't train enough, train more. If you don't sleep enough, sleep more. It's not that hard, guys. And then the last part to the equation is just what do you need to remove from your life to accelerate your goals? Because yeah, you can keep some bad habits if you want. Like let's say you have 2 bad habits and 5 good habits. Yeah, you're probably going to still progress even though you have these 2 things holding you down, like maybe sleeping in and missing workouts, let's say. But everything else is perfect, so you're kind of on an uphill trajectory. But you can accelerate your rate of growth so that it's exponential instead of slow and steady by also subtracting negative things from your life. So let's just do an example here. Colin Devaney, just what are a couple things, not necessarily about yourself, but that you see amongst your peers that would be really simple to just remove from your life to just accelerate your goals?
I think something that you mentioned as well is,
Quinn, get off your phone.
People don't always have the same, goals as me. I have high expectations of myself. I think probably, hang on.
No, take your time. No rush.
I think personally, people who don't appreciate hard workers, I think, I like to see myself as I work hard. I do put in extra work when no one's watching. I like to keep my life private, work in private and let it show out on the field or on the mound and whatnot. So I think, people who don't have the same goals as me and have the same desires and wishes and kind of don't want the same future as me, I think I can, kind of keep in touch realistically, but, kind of slowly kind of lean towards people who do have the same goals as me.
For sure. And I want to be clear on something, guys. I'm not telling you to go, after this meeting, to start texting all your friends that don't play sports and say, you're not my friend anymore, see you never. Because you can have different types of friends. It's just that if your goal is huge, like to go pro or even to get a scholarship in Canada or the States, those are huge, huge, huge goals. So if that's something, if you're going to tell me I want to go pro in your success equation next week, which I know a couple of you will, it needs to be realistic. If you're 16 years old and you're in the weight room once a month, you can tell me you want to go pro, but you're not going pro. So I'm going to challenge you guys to be realistic with these expectations. You can have a plan B and a plan A. Maybe for some of the people who are going, their success equation is to end up as a professional athlete, I might ask that you make 2 success equations, a plan A and a plan B. Okay, because that might be the best part of this leadership academy is developing plan A's and plan B's, because that's kind of what I did. When I was in my last year of football, I had 1 year left, and it was going to be the year that I was going to go to the East-West Combine, which is just the players who are going to be draft eligible for the CFL. They go to a showcase, they do a combine, they play a game, right? So when I was kind of making these decisions, my plan A when I got to university was to go pro. When I was weighing the pros and cons between maybe going into business for myself or going to play pro, it really came down to this, guys, and it's something for you football players to consider. I probably would have only had a 1, maybe 2 to 3 year career if I was very, very, very lucky. And I was going to probably play special teams. It was probably going to take me 5 years to ever get into an offensive meeting room. So is $50,000 to play special teams when it's the most violent part of the game, and you're just being paid to sacrifice your body, and the coaches and the GMs, they don't care about your safety and your well-being? That kind of made me say, I'm not going to play my last year because I think my plan B is my plan A now. I kind of outgrew my plan A as I matured. That's not going to be the case for all of you. Some of you will play in the CFL. I am confident. I am confident some of you will play in the MLB. And I'm confident some of you will play in the WNBA, right? But it's very important to have a plan B because, Emily, if you make it to the WNBA, you play 2 or 3 years, you win the lottery. You're not going to play for 15 or 20 years, right? So it's very important to have contingencies. I'll do a little question and answer after if anyone has some questions, but just last slide of the presentation. So for next month, you all have 2 weeks. So 2 weeks from January 10th, next 2 Sundays, to submit me your Leadership Academy success plan. If you don't get it to me in 2 weeks, don't send it to me. I don't want it. Okay. So 2 weeks, I'm going to go then review them over the 3rd week. And then I'm going to contact a couple of you because the people who put the most effort into this, I'm going to maybe have 2 or 3 people present their success plans next month to start the lecture. We're going to go over academic success plans next month, the concept of delayed gratification. So kind of what Colin was talking about, working when nobody's looking at you and kind of playing the long game to success, and just how to use your social media properly as a young athlete. Because I'll just be blunt, some of you aren't using your social media very smart. Okay. I see a lot. There's my email if you guys have questions, but if anybody has a question now, feel free to unmute your speaker and ask. But if not, that was the first lecture of the For Life Fitness Leadership Academy. Thanks, guys.
I actually do have a question.
Go ahead, Quinn.
So what would you like to see on the success plan?
Okay. So the bare minimum that I need is the success plan. So I'll go back to the slide for you quickly. This is the minimum I need to see from your perspective. So this plus this minus this plus this equals success, and then a little blurb of what your success is. If you want to do a good job and be a 10%er, like I was talking about earlier in the presentation, if you want to be at the top of the group and maybe present next month, you could also attach a 1-page Word document, not a lot, half a page, with an explanation with more detail, kind of go above and beyond, because that's what a 10%er does. So I'm not going to give you the whole answer, but I think I've given you the path. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, no problem. Anybody else have a question? If not, you guys are dismissed. Feel free to sign off. And if you have any questions, just reach out, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Coach.
No problem, fellas.
Thanks, Zach.
Thank you.
Good job, guys.
Yeah.
I'll talk to y'all soon.
Bye.
Thanks, Zach.
Did you want me to wait around to talk about?
Yeah, what's up? We can talk now. Yeah. So fill me in quickly. I don't know anything. They just want to talk to you?
I saw on their Instagram, they said to message them, any like 2022 recruits. So I just sent the message with my film and like my grades and stuff. And then it's the recruiting coordinator got back to me. And then he introduced himself over there. And then he said he just wanted to like talk to me in the future.